Okay, so for this week, this is September 18th, 2018, Whaleshares Hangout number 3. This week it's really cool. We got a lot of people in the chat this week. First week was good, second week slow, and this week we kind of picked up here. But today we have a new announcement post that went up. You'll find it on the official @Whaleshares account on whaleshares.io. And this is a new features and development update. And some of the things that everyone will have noticed that we've now completed and got posted. First thing is being the profile feeds. They've now been updated to correctly sort out your own published content, your own post, from those that have been shared. Stuff, other people's content that you've rewarded and shared. Um, you know, this is something that's always been planned. We had that kind of experimental thing up while we were finishing this, but this allows you to kind of keep that spotlight on the people you are rewarding and sharing, that you feel that they're deserving of your share, but also make it easy for everyone else to find your own content. People follow you for a reason. They want to see your own content. So this new feature now of having everything properly sorted helps clarify all that and some of the issues people are having, that since rewarding equals sharing, we know that was going to clutter everything up in the beginning, but remember back even in the testnet and pre-launch, we didn't even put the experimental sorting feature in there because we wanted people to really get a feel for the fact that rewarding was sharing, that they were synonymous here in Whaleshares, and kind of let that sink in. So, we're really happy to actually see the involvement. There has been there's no reduction, say, in rewarding other people's posts because of the share. So this is really nice. It's great to see the community still rewarding and sharing as they should. And now we have these feeds properly split to sort out the content. The next update that happened just today that you may have noticed, this is probably in the last hour or two. If you go to your wallet, you'll now see under the section for mana, which is your rewarding power, you'll now see it gives you the current rewarding power in WLS. So when you're actually rewarding a post, you'll now know what your maximum reward power is when you give that post. Some people don't have the slider yet, so a 100% reward, that's what it's showing you based on your mana power at that point in time. It is real time. It updates as you reward and your mana reduces. That value will change as well. Now for the accounts that do have the vote slider activated, you'll now see when you go to, reward slider, when you go to reward a post, reward and share, you'll have the slider and it'll show you not just the percent of the reward you're giving, but also the value in WLS. So as you slide that, left and right, higher or lower in the percentage, you'll see that value. So this is good. This will now help you, kind of balance out your rewards. I know a lot of these things that you're seeing us implement here on Whaleshares are things that people have been like on their knees begging for over on Steemit for the last 12, 18 months, and they haven't gotten around to doing it. These are all the kind of things that we're building into Whaleshares, and there's a lot more on the way. So just kind of, keep up with that @Whaleshares account. If you're not following it, make sure you are following it, because that's where all the official updates will be posted. And there's a lot more coming, even with regards to the feeds and these WLS values that we're putting up. Now, the other thing that happened today as well, and we do want to give a big shout out to Alex P. Morris. He's on our dev team, and he has created and activated the script for us for our whale tokens. So you'll notice several posts went up today, and more will be coming for the official whale tokens that have been activated and are now supported by the system. We're currently still working on the whale book. That's a different team that's working on the development of that. So while that's still under development, we did have the whaleshares.info website updated, and that's courtesy of Bushkill. So you can go check out whaleshares.info, and that'll give you the updates. There's a little section on the left-hand side called whale tokens. That'll slide you down to the appropriate section we can check out. The list of the official whale tokens that are activated, and eventually you'll have the value for the reward stuff in there, but that's not live yet. We're just kind of getting that rolling, but you'll see which tokens are set up. So more information will be coming. Each of the individual people that have the tokens activated will have their own posts that show you how to use them. So just follow those instructions if you've been rewarded those tokens. Now, as we've said many times before, and we will do with all these announcement posts, this is just the beginning. Over the next couple of months, the development team will be rolling out several major updates, as well as a couple minor ones like you saw today, that will completely change the way cryptocurrency-based content platforms operate and kind of change the meaning of what social media websites really are. And we always like to remind everyone that those of us who are part of the dev team now will not always be in charge of everything going forward. After a couple months, when these last major updates roll out, this platform will be handed over to the community. And at that point, we're hoping to have, a true DAC already in place. So we're going to need other people from the community to step up, taking on roles of governance, arbitration. We have our witness team that's being put together. A lot of great witnesses now who are becoming very active in the community and helping with individual projects or different things that kind of complement the Whaleshares platform. So we want everyone to really think of this long term. Right now in the beginning, this is kind of leading up to our topic for tonight, but as a community, we need to start establishing some basic guidelines. You want to call them rules, but we need to kind of have these initial guidelines in place so when the community is handed this platform and the greater DAC itself, they have something to go from. If we just deliver a platform with no rules and it becomes the wild, wild west, it will quickly spiral down the tubes like we saw happen over on Steemit. And we don't want this. We want this to be a completely new platform with a completely new way of thinking. And we want the community to be involved in these guidelines and governance of how the platform is to be used and how it is not to be used. We don't want to have just a couple people policing the platform, even though in these early days you're going to see some of the leaders that have to step up and take on this role as we get feedback and complaints from the community about other users on the platform. So these are just some things to think about as we roll into tonight's general topic. So I'll hand it over to Krista for a moment and then we'll roll from there. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I said, what we said before, if anyone wants to speak up, feel free. Mics are open for this. Um, Post your comments in the chat if you want, or speak up. And I know today, based on that post, there was some feedback that came in. So everyone's willing to give their point of view, or if, I saw Intelli guy's going to talk. If you want to say something, have at it.
Known, whether it be contributing with valid content on their own, developing new projects and signing their name to a website they've put up, to attending meetings just like this, to even just lending a hand with somebody and getting known in the community so that you can get followers organically. For instance, you'd be like, hey, I know that guy and he helped me out with this problem. I wonder what he writes on his blog. And on his blog, he advertises that he's a witness, which he's free to do. There's no need to go and tread on other people's areas and constantly spam the network with "I'm a witness, vote for me," or welcome to the neighborhood. By the way, this welcome message is promoted to you by witnesses X, Y, and Z. There's two reasons of why that is. First of all, people might think, well, it's jealousy, right? It's got nothing to do with jealousy. What the problem is that if everybody starts doing that, then everyone's going to do that. And the next thing you know, people are going to get, 10 and 12, even 30 witness messages every time they write a post saying, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. People hate unsolicited advertising. So there's a difference between making yourself known in a very organic way and actually forcing your message down somebody's throat at every opportunity that you get. And it's not perceived well by other community members. It's not perceived well by other witnesses, and it's certainly not perceived well by me. So that's what I'm bringing up, and one of the reasons why I wrote this on Steam today. And I was going to bring this forward in maybe the future suggestion room. I put this post up on Steam not knowing that it's probably never going to go anywhere, but I did it just to prove that it wouldn't. And then should Whaleshares incorporate something similar, it just makes our network that much better. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it will make it so that everybody thinks that that's acceptable, and it's not only witnesses doing this. There are just other accounts that, to bring attention to their account, they have taken large images and a generated message and just comment that. Now, on Steam, I actually flag that kind of behavior. Like, if I see a message that looks like somebody didn't sit and type it up, I'll go to their comment section and look to see if they have, 5 to 10 other messages exactly like that. And if they do, I start flagging them. I think that it's just unneeded. I don't understand why anyone would do it, I guess, but that's just my perspective on it. You won't see me doing it ever.
Well, to qualify that, Krista, I think those that refrain from doing it may be seen with more respect than those that constantly do it. To at least to somebody that's smart enough to understand that it's one thing is appropriate and the other thing isn't.
Anybody else have any thoughts on either the post or even just the topic of whether that's something like, does it just piss me off? Do you guys not care about it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I really actually legitimately want to know because, eventually the community will be in charge of kind of writing their own constitution. So these are things that we have to be thinking about now. We're over 1,000 members already on the platform, probably around 1,500, I would assume. And almost over 1,000 people here in this Discord alone, which is only about a month old, maybe 6 weeks.
Right. And I mean, the whole issue of the community taking control has been something that we've been very adamant about from the beginning. This goes back, before we even had the testnet up and running. We've talked about the community needing to come together to kind of draft up their own version of a constitution or rules and guidelines to go through because we don't want it to be like the other platforms. And it's tough because in the beginning, there are some of us who are basically put in charge with moderation and admin and, um, being the temporary police, if that's what you want to call it. So there's always going to be people that are going to be fussing, saying, well, if certain posts get flagged or certain things are frowned upon or certain things are stopped, that becomes censorship or centralization of a platform and stuff. And people have to really understand that there is a greater issue that comes into play when we talk about these crypto-backed platforms. Okay, this is something that's new in the world of social media, if this is the kind of the genre that this is going to roll into. But right now, we're kind of facing down the barrel of a loaded gun when it comes to many governments around the world. Okay, cryptocurrency itself is a threat to nationalized banking systems, um, and decentralized platforms are a threat to basically everything else. Every other business and website or social media, everything else that runs around this world. It kind of flies in the face of them having control over everything you do and that unlimited power of censorship. So when platforms like Steemit and Whaleshares and Smoke and others start rolling out, there is an uphill battle that's going to be fought against regulation. And this is going to be very heavy in the United States, and it will pick up in the European countries as well. Not every country is going to be as warm and fuzzy, open arms to what we're doing. So in the States, we have very serious rules and laws and all that about copyright infringement, intellectual property rights, and things like that. And besides, regulations coming at us over the cryptocurrency side of things, the SEC, is this a security? Is this not? Is this tax fraud? All this other crap that's coming at us. We're also going to have to be looking at the side of they will come at us saying everything on your platform, is this copyright infringement? Is everyone just stealing people's work, stealing people's writing, stealing people's photography? Where individuals, because we're in this crypto world, people say, it's crypto, you can't find me, I got 32,000 aliases. Sure, they might not be able to track down the person or individual that stole the content, posted it, and is making money on it, going against all these different intellectual property right rules that are in different countries. But they can pretty much say, because of this, we're just, we're putting the hammer down, and your entire website is now illegal. And they can then just shut the website down. They will go to companies like Facebook and Alphabet and basically say, these specific sites, this is governments and regulations stuff saying, we disapprove of this list of websites. You will no longer allow this to be in your search engines. This will no longer be in your results. This will no longer be in your advertising. And those companies who are all centralized will have to follow these rules and regulations, just like you hear about things in China where, Facebook battles China, what content can and cannot be shown in China. That will end up happening to cryptocurrency backed websites if we don't take this seriously and self govern the way we need to. So there's a broader picture than people thinking, I can do what I want, I can post what I want, you can't censor me. We have to think of what the whole point is of these decentralized platforms in cryptocurrency. If we're trying to fight against the system and have something new, a new way of letting people earn instead of businesses earn and advertising earn and governments earn, then we have to kind of do it in a respectful way where you're still abiding by certain laws that will not get us shut down. So there's a bigger picture that everyone has to kind of keep in mind as these discussions come up. So along with that too, I mean, it would be great to hear feedback from the community of what people think of that. Have people even thought of that angle to even understand that it's greater than just I stole someone's picture and I'm making 10 whale shares, which equals $5. There's a greater picture that people need to understand long term.
Okay, so I don't know if you see what Woodsy just posted, but he's basically asking if we would rather see people taking and he said, on the topic of sharing, how far do we take that? What I mean by that is, will I post just copies of a picture or article, even if it is attributed correctly, be welcome? I personally feel that you should add something of your own opinion on it, extra thoughts. Right now, there are a lot of posts out there that only copy a picture and get a lot of WLS. Even if you attribute correctly and not talking about own work or cross posts, I think it looks weird to outside people when they see people making money on just a clean copy paste, even with attribution. Now, my thought on that, and this is actually Mr. Fuzzy's thought on that too, is this isn't a blogging platform per se; it's a friend sharing network. So, for instance, I posted a video, a YouTube video of a talk that I watched, Joe Rogan with Elon Musk the other day. And I did give my thoughts on it, but mostly I just kind of gave a summary and tried to open up a conversation on it. I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. It's something I enjoyed that I wanted to share with everybody. As far as just putting a picture with, you know, just putting a picture and putting the link to it, I do see something wrong with that, because why did you share that picture with us? What did you like about it? What made you think anything about it? Why would other people like it? I saw a couple posts today that were poking fun at the fact that we did have to flag someone today. But the simple fact of the matter is, I mean, the the points that Steam PowerPics makes are not Steam PowerPics, Mr. PowerPics. The points that he makes are very valid, and also it kind of goes back to the spammy comment thing. If we allow one person to do it, I mean, people are going to do it, and I'm not going to see it because I'm not spending my time. Nobody's paying me to go flag people, and I hate flagging people. I'm not spending my time going out searching for stuff. But if I see it, or if somebody draws attention to it because it's bothering them, like we had a gentleman who every single one of his blog posts were stolen from other people's Steam accounts, except for one. And we flagged him to 0 because that's not fair to the guy who wrote all the posts. So, I mean, use your good judgment as far as that goes. If you don't like it when somebody just posts a picture, don't reward it. Go ahead and tell it.
I'd like to make it let's identify YouTube, for instance. YouTube specifically encourages people to embed videos on other websites. And one of the reasons why they don't mind you doing that is because if they're going to show a commercial at the beginning of the video or a pop-up ad, it actually is retained in the video itself. So that gets their advertisers happy. And that's the whole point of what YouTube is getting videos seen. And they still make money on advertising. The difference is if you pull a technical, say somebody did a review on the latest mouse or something on a technical website, you'll notice that that article is surrounded by Google AdWords on the right hand side and all that. When you just suck in just the article and attribute it to the author, all of a sudden now that website is lost its revenue because it's seen on a different website, and you've lost the advertising potential of that. When you do that, you're hurting the website owner that may have paid that author to write that article, and you're benefiting it directly yourself, even though you're saying, well, I attributed it to the guy. The point is the advertising, or the way that the revenue stream is from where the content comes from. Same with like a photo. If you steal an artist, his photo from the internet, he may be selling that photo on some sort of photo sales website or something, just attributing it, saying this person drew that photo. Well, he's not going to make any money, but you are. So that's the end of the day of the slicey dicey thing of why just attributing where you steal work from and reposting it on a different website isn't actually valid. I just wanted to open that discussion up.
Right.
Well,
And see,
yeah, like when I'm
I would say, because that goes back to what I was talking about before, where, you know, this, we've already seen it on Facebook and other platforms. Companies, Shutterstock and stuff like that will come after Facebook to have them come after their members to get that material scraped off their sites. Um, so when we start talking about, because a lot of people around the world don't have the same issues that we have here in the States and some European countries, where we have very strict intellectual property rights and copyright laws and things like that. If if in any way a photo or a text writing, book, article, whatever it is, has any kind of copyright associated to it, it cannot be used for any commercial purpose at all. That means even posting it on Steam or Whaleshares, where in the end you are being rewarded in a cryptocurrency that relates to a fiat amount of money. So that in itself becomes a copyright or intellectual property violation. Even if you attribute the author, you had no right to make money off of that work. That is only for, they'll say, non-commercial uses. So that's when we kind of get in this whole debate about, even if you use certain images, they have to come from websites or resources where they say this is royalty free, this is Creative Commons, and you're free to use it however you want or manipulate it and do whatever you want with it. No big deal. But you have to make sure that's where the content is coming from, and that goes back to IntelliGuy's point about even when an author writes something for any other online magazine or a print magazine, it could be an article about anything. That author and or publication that person's writing for owns the rights to that content. So even if you put a link back to it, you are in violation of numerous copyright laws in the United States and possibly in other countries. Now, some of the issue we run across is people from other countries around the world don't have that, don't see it, and don't care. But it becomes a big issue when we look at the platform and which governments start to come in and regulate and end up shutting us down because they're like, we've had enough of this crap. If we can't get to the person, or the people in the DAC or worldwide can't get to the person and shut them down, we'll just shut the whole damn website down. So that's something we need to think about. And I think Meredith had her hand up a while back too. So Meredith, if you want to speak, you can jump in.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
he cut out, but we can hear you.
Oh, okay, if you can hear me. Okay, so about the spammy comments and things like that. All right, so Frank and I, Lexicon 082, and I, we're brand new witnesses, and I am a manual curator, and so is he. So, one of the things that I was kind of going up against just today was the fact that I was in my personal account and I was going through and I'm curating, I'm commenting, I'm doing what I normally do. And then I sign into our witness account and I'm trying to curate and things because I'm trying to grow that organically. I don't want to spam anybody. And so, like, I had actually created a GIF to post, kind of like an approval stamp and things like that. And then it occurred to me, wow, that's kind of spammy because if I don't leave an organic comment and I just leave the stamp, well, that might turn some people off. So now I'm debating, how do I handle this? So basically, today I kind of took on an alter ego. I was like another person while I was signed in, and you know what? As people get to know us, they're going to be like, "Mare, we know that's you," but that's kind of like the dilemma that I'm finding, and this is really early on. So I just wanted to know what your guys' thoughts were on that.
I can understand that because I actually run my own personal account, my Crazy Witness account, and another witness account called Contests that I'm just using to like manually curate different contests. And I find myself when I get onto the contest one, just giving a share and not commenting because by the time I do my other two accounts, I'm so tired. So I understand what you're saying. What I've been doing is not necessarily less commenting, but if I don't have something genuine to say, I'm just not commenting. So if it's just a really nice picture that I like, I'm just rewarding that. And I'm not saying, "Oh, that's beautiful," like I generally would if I were curating on Steemit. So that's how I've been dealing with it. Now with me, I have my coin now, so I won't be manually curating from my witness account anymore. So I might deal with it a little bit differently.
Meredith, I could probably give you another angle. You've just done that now. You just mentioned who Lexi Witness is and that you're involved in that. And you did it right here with no image and no commenting and all of that. That's a good way of getting the word out, is once people get to know you, they find out. In addition to whenever a witness votes for something, people are going to say, oh, I wonder who voted for me. And sure enough, they're going to see your name on the list, especially if they only have a few votes. And more than that, when they're looking at witnesses and on who to vote for, they might actually go to their blog and go, okay, let me see what this witness has been rewarding and sharing lately. And they'll be like, oh, they're actually rewarding and sharing the same content I do. I like this person, I like that witness note for doing that. And there's different ways that people can get attracted to the witnesses without having to actually spell it out in any form, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like for me, it's very important to have that organic communication. If like my policy has always been, if I'm going to, if a blog post catches my attention in the first place, I'm going to read it, I'm going to leave a comment, and I'm going to upvote. If it's crap, then I just turn away and I don't upvote and I don't comment. It's just, like pretend that I wasn't there. But having this second account that Frank and I are both curating, and it's like, all right, you know what? Maybe this is my opportunity to get that alter ego and take on this new persona. And again, it's that idea of people are going to be like, you're either freaking nuts or you're having fun with this, or are you taking this seriously, or hey, we know it's you, it's okay. Because sometimes and I found that today, that after I went through with my personal comments and I went through with the witness account, that sometimes it was a follow-up, um, just either a follow-up question, asking about the post, or just trying to be engaging. So it's not like I'm trying to hide myself, and it's not like I'm trying to be somebody else, but it's just trying to have that organic communication. Because there are some people who might not follow the witness account because they don't generally do that, but they'll follow me. And so it's just finding that, I guess it's just finding that balance.
Well, here's one.
Yeah,
Sorry, not to interrupt, but I just wanted to say one thing. I didn't know that Lexi Witness and you were involved with that. And I've been following your blog, and I like the stuff you write. And for me, when I vote witnesses, I don't vote machines. I vote the people that manage them, what their character's like, and how much I believe in them, knowing the basic things of right from wrong. And so I have a spare witness vote, and I'm going to vote up your witness after we're done here today. But that's an example of how you didn't have to come to my blog from Lexi Witness and upload any of my content. If I would have noticed you talking a little bit more about it, and if you have already on your blog, I apologize, I haven't seen it. But I saw Lexi Witness around, and I didn't have any clue as to who it was. So just promoting your own witness on your own blog is something you're more than free to do. And if I would have made that connection after seeing you around and hanging out in the community, like right now, I'm here. You can't vote me up any whale stake right now because this is a freebie that I'm doing for the community, but I want to do this. And just being present and helping out and being part of discussions and stuff goes a long way for a lot of people. So that's kind of why I'm always hanging around and stuff. So my encouragement is just be a little more forthright about Lexi Witness, who it is on your blog, and we're gonna eventually people are gonna figure it out, and you'll get the votes that you're looking for.
Yeah, I was just gonna say exactly what IntelliGuy was saying. I don't see any reason whatsoever why you shouldn't. I promote myself on basically every post that I make. I did not promote myself on the posts for the show because I wanted people to just come to the show to come. Most people know that I'm Crazy Witness, obviously, because my name is Crazy Krista on here. So they can make that correlation. But I would suggest networking is a good way to let people know. If people ask me how witnessing is going or how I like it, we can also, if we haven't, oh, I see your name is Orange. So anybody in here can now tell that you're a witness here. But you could even link like here's to view my latest witness update on the bottom of your personal blog, just so people do associate you with a witness account if you'd like to. I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah, I think most of us as witnesses do that too, because I'll, depending even for me on what the content is that I'm posting for, I'll put my signature on the bottom, just reminding people to not just vote for, say, me as witness, but just vote for witnesses in general, because that is something that is very important. And IntelliGuide did touch on the topic of, how you're deciding on who you're voting for witnesses. Like you said, not just machines or technical people who say they understand, computers and stuff, but it's people who are active and involved in the community. Because as we go forward and this, you know, evolves into, like a self-run DAC, we're going to need those people who are, really deep into the community, who actually care and are giving back, and more than just running the node, but they have to be engaged. They have to understand the people. They have to be helping with the guidance and the governance and things like that. So
Yeah, I think like I really appreciate that feedback because now I feel kind of free to do that on my personal posts. And I think part of the reason why I've been holding back is it's almost like that separation of church and state, if you know what I mean. It's like, well, that's my professional, I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna take myself seriously. I'm a witness, and and then my more goofy stuff, on my personal posts. And it's like, okay, do I draw the line? How uh, how deep should that line be? And so I really appreciate that. Those little suggestions where it doesn't feel like you're doing a hard sell, and by putting it in your signature and just kind of putting it out there. And I think you're right, IntelliGuy, that people will eventually recognize that and put two and two together. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, and also you're not trying to sell beauty products on your Steam It blog, or sorry, on your Whaleshares blog. You're trying to sell yourself. And I don't see anything wrong with that. You're not telling people to jump on over to Steam It and vote for your witness there on your personal blog. It's something that's relevant to the platform, and a lot of people don't even know that witnesses exist, in my experience. Um, so I think that it's actually bringing awareness to a larger issue, like PowerPics said. I don't care if you vote for me, but vote for someone, and vote for someone that you know and trust, to have the platform and the community's best interests in mind.
yeah, I mean, because there's going to be a point in time where, as this hands over to the community, those of us who are in the top ranks of witnesses won't always be in the top rank of witnesses. And I don't think any of us who are in there now or part of the dev team and stuff that got this rolling are going to be like, it's not going to be, oh my God, we're so upset. It's as long as someone, who has the knowledge, because remember, we're also tied into the BitShares community. So a lot of the witnesses we have running with us right now are from the BitShares community. So they really know their stuff. They understand a delegated proof of stake. They understand everything in the BitShares community. They're part of the BitShares Talk.io sister platform that we have. So other people will come up through the ranks. So as long as they're involved in the community and have the experience and the knowledge to kind of guide and do all these updates and hard forks over time that we need to do, so we don't see an episode that just happened on Steam and happened with us. Yeah, exactly, the dead witnesses and stuff. We don't want that. So it doesn't really matter, who you're voting for, as far as, like, say, me personally, but as long as you're voting and you're voting for people who have that good intention to support this platform and carry it forward, because those of us who are in the top now, like I said, aren't always going to be in the top. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and it's okay if we're all replaced in time, as long as we're replaced with people who care about the platform and how the governance works and the stability and long-term, the long-term view of the platform.
So let me ask really quick, just because there's a lot of people just typing. Does anybody not know how to vote for witnesses? I'm going to take that as a no, because I know IntelliGuy knows how to vote for witnesses. So that's good. That means that we have the level of community. Can't hear you, Steve. That means that we already have a level of community involvement that I mean, many people were like, what's a witness? And a lot of people don't know, because like personally, I stumbled upon Steemit a little over a year ago. I had no idea what a witness was, what cryptocurrency was, anything. I'd never blogged before. So that means that everyone here is doing their job and like telling people like, look, this is what a witness is, this is what they do.
Yeah, this is Pair Mike. Yeah, I think one of the things that this is helping with is just establishing the rules, because I know I was one of the offenders of putting some of the vote stuff on initially, and so it wasn't out of a need of acting malicious, just trying to gain a following. But then, as I was alerted from the people in the witness chat, it was like, hey, that's against the ethos of what we're doing here. Then I understood, and so I think just us having a clear set of rules and understanding, and then everybody will know what's expected, and what's outside the lines. So I think this is good.
Thank you for coming forward with that, Paramike. And if people learn and change and stuff like that, I think it goes a long way in the overall long term. So it's very admirable of you and candid to say that.
Yeah, and yeah, and that was one of the things I think too. Kind of along with that is if we see somebody doing something offensive, or if number one, just DM them and ask a question. Because I think there was some rush to judgment about what was happening. Um, because I've been in this community, a long time. I just don't, I haven't been that vocal prior to now, but people just had kind of come to their own conclusion and all of that. And I was like, just ask me a question, and I'll give you my response. And then I think once they saw that, what my response was and what my forward actions were, they kind of spoke for themselves. So I think we just need to have some etiquette around, if we see something offensive, what's the process in which we go by addressing it.
I mean, that's a very valid point. One of the people that was arguing with us today made the point that we gave no warning before we flagged. The flag was the warning, in my opinion. However, you will notice I'm not I'm not flagging spammy comments, because I know how I feel about them. Okay, but I don't know how the community feels about them. I do believe, however, that the community at large doesn't want people plagiarizing. That's something that has pretty much always been flagged upon, aside from the people who are actually doing it. So I'm pretty confident that I will continue to, as I come across plagiarized posts. However, spammy comments, that's something that I hope that the community can come to a consensus on themselves on their own posts and say, hey, I don't like this, stop doing it. So I don't even have to deal with that, except for as a community member, not as a whale. So
Yeah, and going along with that too, remember we do have the governance channel here in the Whaleshares Discord. So Mike, even if you do want to get more involved in it as well, you're more than welcome to put your ideas and thoughts in that channel, because that's where we're going to start. We're going to start looking for the leaders. They're going to end up taking over for us as we move forward. So we definitely need to see the community step up and kind of put their voice in of where they want to be in the community.
I'd like to make a comment about an observation that I have with Discord channels. I see that there's been some effort created to create multiple subjects of the Discord channel so that we can kind of segregate the very different topics into one area where it can get the most attention to. But there's nothing worse than seeing maybe general chat all busy with things. You go into like a governance channel or some other channel, and the last post is like a week ago or 3 days ago, and you're like, okay, nobody even checks this channel. Is it worth putting in here? Why don't I just go back to general where I can get an instant answer? Any comments on that, PowerPics, on how we can try to maybe get rid of that type of problem, that perceived problem? I don't even know if it's a problem.
Well, I mean, for us, it seems to be okay for now because some people will come in and they'll start chatting in general about some kind of topic that we know, even if it had to do with the support for claiming tokens or creating accounts, and we'll quickly kind of guide them and say, no, 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 get over in that channel. And the reason for it is it's not just a now conversation, but it allows to kind of archive the history of the conversation. So even if something goes wrong and we're correcting something that was a negative, it becomes a positive in the end, and then people can hit that channel and scroll up and kind of get that history to know how we got to where we are now. Um, and this even happens with the new channel now for, the reporting plagiarism, things like that. It's good to have the history because instead of it being something that happens private and people are constantly DMing us complaining about this person or that person or why this, why that, we say, we have different channels from that. Go voice your opinion, go voice your comment, go put your suggestion in those channels so the whole community can see it. And then like you did say, they are different topics. So you're not kind of scrolling through trying to look for, I'm looking for this governance thing, but I got all this crap about creating a new account and stuff mixed in. We kind of keep these things to the topic because we're trying to look long term on this, knowing that we need the community to kind of fill these different roles. So anyone who has interest in these different kind of groups or, you parts of the community can step in and say, I want to be in this role. I want to be just in governance, or maybe I want to help with the witness, or I just want to help with this. So that's kind of why they're there. But we definitely want to direct people to those different channels, even if the conversation's maybe dead for a week or so. But they'll be able to kind of scroll back in history and kind of catch up to how we got to where we are today. This will be more important as we go forward, but we're just kind of getting the ball rolling on some of those things now. Yeah, that just so everyone knows that beta.whaleshares.net, that little copy link thing that's in the posts, that is on the list of things to get updated. So there is a work ticket out for that. That'll get fixed. But just so everyone knows, when you do hit that little chain icon, it's still using the testnet URL instead of whaleshares.io. So just make sure you correct it before you actually share it somewhere. Put it back to
And
whaleshares.io.
actually, Alex, can you confirm really quick? Will that beta link work as far as the reward tokens go? Or are they going to have to use the whaleshares.io link? Just kind of to confirm, because I think more and more people will be using it this week.
Yeah, it should be. We should keep it to whaleshares.io though, just so we don't mess it up.
Okay, fine. We'll just I mean, that's what I put in my post.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, in the beginning, I will probably go ahead and refund people myself, just because I know that a lot of people, the tokens are actually new to them. And actually, as a surprise tonight, all of you who have hung on for this whole hour, if you would like to go ahead and DM me your BitShares account name, I will gladly send probably some Beyond Bits and some Crazy Coin over to you. So DM me. I dare you. No, that's fine, Crystal. Anybody who's here at this point, go ahead and DM me. I don't care. I didn't announce that I was going to do it because I wanted people to actually come and take part in the conversation. I didn't want to have to reward people in order to get them to come care. So I'm glad that so many people joined up tonight. I don't have really a time restraint. I can stay around for a little while longer. It's been a good discussion, so I would love to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone else has anything else on these topics, just or even a different topic relating to the platform, just shout out your questions. Jump on voice if you want to.
Hey, PowerPics, I do have a question. Can you all give some more information around like the well tokens and that whole kind of the economics around it? Well, the process, not economics, but the process around it and onboarding and all of that.
Yeah, I know you and I have kind of gone back and forth a little bit on the discussion. The generally the whale tokens are supposed to be reward tokens or community support tokens. So those would basically run the way the original Whaleshare and BeyondBit tokens were created by Fuzzy over on Steemit, where they're given out for community involvement, initiative, contest, or helping in some of our earlier development teams and stuff. And then those people who are rewarded those tokens can use them. You send them through BitShares to a specific address, and then with the comment, the memo being your post that you want to have upvoted. And this is back on Steemit for Whaleshare tokens and BeyondBit tokens. So that was the original cross-chain token philosophy that Fuzzy has set in. They are reward tokens for people doing work and participating in the community. Now, the whale tokens are basically just the new evolution of that over here on the Whaleshares.io platform, but they're keeping that same, basically the same philosophy behind them. They're to be rewarded to people who are participating in the community through different contests, challenges, and initiatives. And we're also going to have what's called the whale tank come back. This is a hangout that we used to have weekly. This is over on Steemit. And in the whale tank, this allowed people who had different community type projects. They could be um, kind of like online community platforms within Steemit at the time, or things that were real world that were being supported by the Steem or Steem dollar cryptocurrency behind it. So the reward tokens, Whaleshares and BeyondBits, were given to those people in the Hangout as basically as funding to them to help them with that project, so they can then use them on their own posts and earn some income that can be funneled into their project. That whale tank will be coming back soon. There's a group that's kind of getting organized right now to get that reestablished and get it rolling again. And the whale tokens will play a big part in that. When the whale tank was originally put together with Fuzzy over on Steemit, the whole point of it was to have multiple whales that were there, almost like you see the Shark Tank on TV. So you have, the multiple whales coming in, and each one would kind of either support all the projects that were presented, or maybe they'd have certain categories of projects that they were more interested in, and that's who they would help with their support token. In the end, it didn't really work out that way, and Fuzzy became really the only whale that was supporting different projects and communities over on Steemit. And then, of course, the history of that, he was attacked, you know, basically for helping in this way, for helping these projects in this way. And the irony behind that, if you fast forward a couple months into this, say 6 months into it, um, SMTs were announced, and SMTs were pretty much a ripoff of Fuzzy's cross-chain tokens working between BitShares and Steemit, to reward people for projects. And that's basically where SMTs had come from. And there's a whole history behind that with Fuzzy, where we know Ned pretty much took that idea and ran with it to make SMTs, and it's now a year or so after that, and SMTs still don't exist. So it's kind of funny, um, but that's really what this is about. So the community tokens, which are whale tokens, there'll be different, I guess, levels. We're still working that out. There's a team that's kind of putting together these kind of final rules and qualifications for what is an official whale token versus what is a community token. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the whale tokens, the official whale tokens will be the ones that are more heavily involved in the whale tank. And the other community tokens will still be listed within the whale book as that comes together. But I think there'd be a lesser participation. So I can't really, I don't want to jump to too many guesses about that yet, because I know that whole group is talking about that. It's a separate group from our dev group of the platform. But as they get closer to kind of putting those ideas together, they'll have a big announcement on that. So just kind of look for that. But just as a general thing, whale tokens have to be community support tokens that are given out where people can then use them for rewards on their post by whatever account on Whaleshares is backing that token. Just like, KrazyKrista has her Crazy Coin. Um, so when a person sends them into her BitShares account, it automatically rewards the post that that person wants. So that's how those tokens generally work.
And so the backing token in that instance will be the well stake. Is that it?
Yeah, correct. So right on the general whale token accounts, whichever one's backing it, there will end up probably being a minimum whale stake, that's required to get the official whale token status versus the lesser community tokens. And I don't mean lesser like they're less important, but there'll be like the two classifications of tokens basically. And I think it'll be a lot of it will be
Thanks.
based on that the stake, the power behind it, which gives a greater ability to help more projects.
Okay, appreciate the definition.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to note that not all of the tokens are ready yet. So there are several of them out there, and there are I want to say 5 or 6 that are ready at this point. So please, before you go sending anything anywhere, make sure that you go to the blog of the person who owns the token. If you're not sure who has issued the token initially, please ask. There's usually somebody that around that can help you, whether that be a mod or an administrator. We also have long-standing community members who are pretty familiar with things. So just be aware so that we don't have a bunch of mad people trying to use tokens that aren't ready yet.
If possible, I'd like to just give a little history about why tokens were created in the very beginning. It'll be pretty short if you're interested.
Have the floor.
Um, Back in the old days when Steam was just there and there was nothing else but Steam, Fuzzy was an unknown whale back then, and he had his Beyond Bitcoin show, and he used to he'd meet all kinds of people over time, and people would say to him, Fuzzy, I don't understand. You voted for these 3 projects, but you didn't vote for mine. He's like, oh man, it had nothing to do with whether or not I thought your post was worthy. It's just I get emails from like or people poking me like 75 times a day. Make sure you vote this post. Can you vote that post? Can you do this? And he's like, I appreciate all of those projects, but there's no way you can expect me to sit here and manually check mark every single one. So he says, tell you what I'm going to do. I'll make a whale token and I'll hand these out at the meetings because you're always there. You'll get so many and different things, or you're a speaker on last week's show, so you get a few more. And if you have a post, I trust you to vote up your own post with the token. So the tokens aren't about a way of just getting rich because you have tokens and stealing votes for stupid content. The idea is that once tokens are given to you, you're kind of entrusted to use them for the important posts that you really were hoping that a whale would see and they just were too busy to come. And that's the point of whales. Whales want to distribute and share their income and their voting power with other people, but it's humanly impossible to be able to recognize everyone at the same time. So tokens is a way of making it so that the power is in your hands as the user to be able to get that whale vote when you really need it. Unless I'm completely wrong, maybe Krista or PowerPics can let me know if I was right.
No, I think that you hit the nail on the head there. When I first joined Whaleshares, which was September of last year, so Whaleshares had its year birthday this year, and I also had my year birthday on Whaleshares this year. So pretty exciting. But anyways, Ackard was in charge of doing all the distribution. And initially, when I came in, he gave me Whaleshares to give to new members and teach them how to onboard them onto BitShares and use the tokens. And he was the one who did all the contests and supported all the contests. We had tons of contests that were backed by Whaleshares. And after Ackard left, that kind of went into my hands, and then I was doing distribution to people for contests. That is where many of the tokens are going. Some of them are singular focus. There's one that's geared more towards business. There's the pixel token is geared more towards art. Um, Bushkill is actually already supporting one of the shows that takes place here with his token. Um, we're gonna probably a couple of us will run lotteries with our tokens. So it really is a community support token. We're not just calling it that to be trendy. We want to help the platform and the community be a successful place, an enjoyable place for people to come and earn.
Yeah, and that that goes back really to the root of Fuzzy's vision for a lot of this stuff with his original Whaleshares tokens and Beyond Bits, and even some of the newer tokens that he's creating. It's really because we used to run a lot of the initiatives over on Steemit. Now that we're kind of transitioning them over to Whaleshares, but that was really the backing behind them. We would run, and it wasn't always about the Whaleshares community. The Whaleshares community and the greater Beyond Bitcoin community, we would run initiatives and contests and different things that just required participation to help all communities. It was about helping Steemit. It was about helping BitShares. It was about helping EOS, and always how they would tie and connect together within the Whaleshares community. So those tokens really were community support tokens. It was greater than ourselves. It was greater than just the Whaleshares community. They were used, to fund a lot of stuff, even like the family protection project that was over on Steemit, Steemit World Map. There was so many great projects over there that came into the Whale Tank and really caught some recognition and some funding, through those. They would also catch the attention of most of us in the Steemit community who never would have had the opportunity to see those projects if they hadn't come through the Whale Tank. So when we move, when the Whale Tank gets rolling again and we're just moving everything over to the Whaleshares platform, um, it just opens up that many more opportunities for us to kind of build over here because there'll be so many more people now that have that whale stake behind them to kind of group together and help these projects. It's not just going to be one person trying to help everyone now. There'll be lots of people helping in these different niche communities that they want to support, that they have interest in.
Yeah, and I mean, without Beyond Bits and Whaleshares, there's no way that I would have been able to help out individuals as much as I have been able to. I've really been blessed by Fuzzy and the Whaleshares community. Thank you guys for letting me work for you for so long. I mean, it's been a very rewarding experience for me. So these whale tokens really can make a difference for people. And I'm not talking about just mine alone. Like PowerPics was just talking about, they can fund projects, but they can also help individuals just to be able to get a reward for hard work, because I know that many of you take a very long time to get a post put up. Like, it's a part-time job, right? So I'm glad to be part of it.
Yeah, and then going back to the point too of the different community aspects of those tokens, we do have, like you had mentioned down below, people will find the different communities that we have listed. Just like the artist corner, photographer's corner, writer space, musicians, the Flaming Helpers, which is the Christian group. We have a Spanish community, not safe for work. Those different communities, as people find different interests and topics that they want to support. Remember, this is a community that's going to be handed over to everyone else. It's not just us here in the dev team doing this. So if you have another category of interest, we've had some interest come in for developers and coders. So that will probably be the next channel that gets put in as a community to support. But there could be any other thing that people come up with. If enough people come together and say, we want to create and support XYZ community, get it in there, get it in the suggestions channel, come talk to us and say, this is the backing, these are the people who want to support it, and we'll get that next sub community started here. um, Steam monsters, if it's a Whaleshares monster room. But yeah, so I mean, if the different aspects of communities coming together, just let us know. This is part of building this as a DAC. We want this to kind of spring off and have different kind of community. Fuzzy talks about guilds all the time, different communities and groups. Get them established. Get the people together that want to support them. In the beginning, you yourself might only have 1,000 whale stake, 2,000 whale stake, but there might be 10 of you that can come together with 1,000 whale stake, and now you got 10,000 stake where you can start supporting a community active. So as you get your ideas and things like that, just come together, talk to us, put it out there in the community channels, and we'll get these things started.
Anybody else have anything? I don't see anybody crazily typing, so I am going to take that as a no. You need something, Steve?
No, just want to say hi to you.
A hello to you as well.
Thanks.
You better say hello to everyone.
Yeah, hello everyone. Glad to be on the show. My network finally connects because I switched over to another one. It's okay. This is a good conversation tonight, and I'm actually enjoying it to the fullest. Talking about so many things here, and of course, I'm taking all of it to my community. Thank you so much.
And PowerPics, just so we know, are you going to make this recording available for people in the community? Put it in show recordings maybe, so people who missed it can go back and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll get it posted.
I posted about it this week, but I posted about it on my witness account, I believe. No, I didn't. I posted about it on my KrazyKrista account. It is also listed in the newsletter. We will continue to run this show at least until Freedom Exists comes back with his Blue Report show. But I think it's actually important to just continue to run it anyways, because this allows for more questions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this will be a good show. Not even a show, but just more of a hangout that'll kind of evolve into. I'm assuming as we go along, this will evolve more into the governance and things like that as we get going. So it'll probably be good to keep it running.
I guess this is a question that I should pose to you as community members. Would you prefer, if instead of keeping the lounge open, we close the lounge and just make a general chat room, so that people can chat in the general chat room and text in the general chat room? Right now, we used to close just the text room and leave the voice room open. But I guess that's kind of a community, something that needs to be voted. What you guys desire?
I have a comment as usual, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
One of the things, sometimes, it's a certain day where there's no shows or something. People that are used to being on the mic want to go somewhere. And so sometimes we end up in the lounge and we're talking. And then somebody wants to post a link, and it seems fitting that links aren't allowed. They're eaten up by the whale bot in general, so you can't do that. You post a link in general, it shows up in post promotion, which is not what you're trying to promote a post. You're just holding it for discussion. The lounge to me sounds like a casual environment. I would suggest like shows should have like a show channel and a show thing that's always locked unless there's a show. And the lounge would be like a free place where it's acting like a lounge. Anybody can sit in, anybody can type, and anybody can talk on voice.
So you are saying that what we should do instead is make a separate place for a separate voice room and a separate text room for shows. I don't have a problem doing that. At this point, I mean, it would be easy enough to reach out to the people doing shows and just kind of direct them to the new room. Um, as long as that's okay with all my yellow guys, I don't have a problem with. The showdown. Yeah, the showrooms would probably work just fine. Live event, we could just call it that. And then we just have to, yeah, the stage, I like that. Then we just have to let people know Steven is here. They actually use their own text room anyways. So it would just be a different voice. I thought that said simple and obnoxious instead of obvious. Okay, well, either way, it's settled. I guess that we just make a separate room for events and leave the lounge as casual, and let the appropriate people know, which I can do. That way I can stop yelling at people for typing in here.
That would be nice.
Well, they type in here like somebody's going to see it, and nobody's in here looking unless there's an event, you know? It's like, go to general.
Well, I can understand that because somebody that might miss a show will show up here an hour or two later and want to scroll back and read what the show, at least the chat, had to offer, even if it wasn't archived or they don't know where the archive is. So cluttering this up with general chat is probably not a good idea after a show is concluded.
Yeah, that's why we used to lock it, but then people had wanted to utilize the voice room, which I don't see a problem with. They should have somewhere they can go. I know many of you have probably noticed we have a music room now. People were having trouble being able to control that without having a certain role. So I just added an everyone role to that. So anyone is welcome to go play music whenever they want to now. That way it's not just a couple people who can play with the bot. So that was the tag yesterday because I had to literally tag everyone to give everyone the role. So we got that all figured out now. So looks like we just need a chat where people can just come and hang, and this will be it.
Yeah, so I guess to preserve the history of the channel, then we can rename this one to whatever it becomes for the shows, and then just make a new lounge, just so we don't lose the history in this room.
Oh yeah, that seems like a good idea. That way we're not losing everything that's already been done here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so if anyone has any other topics they want to bring up as far as what we talked about tonight, either the updates or anything to do with the plagiarism spam topics. If not, we'll just kind of wrap up the official recording, but we can keep on talking in here as long as you guys want.
Looked like Savo was trying to come through.
I don't know if anybody's like me, but I get sick of text. Sometimes it's nice to hear somebody just chatter, even if you don't want to participate with your mic or because you don't, your headset's not working or something. Sometimes people just like hearing idle chat between people and stuff. It gives a third dimension to reading blogs because you know what? This is a blogs and text social networks are great, but at the same time, you kind of miss real people and real voices and real sound.
True. Yeah, I had my mic low in volume. It was out. But you can also have one room for voice, and which is also used for other things, which include audio. And I have two text channels, and then one is just for general, and the other one you can open when there is a show, and close it afterwards. Because else, people are switching, or yeah, there is switching the whole. I don't know, but it's easier if there is just one room for voice, but
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that for the simple fact that you have to think that we have a Spanish community in here as well. So, in instances where the Spanish community wants to host a show, if they're hosting a show, people might not be interested in going to that because they can't speak Spanish. They might want to go in the other room and chat. That would just be my only conflict I could see.
If I could pipe in there and say that it's always good to have an extra chat channel available in voice, just in case 3 or 4 people in a community want to get together and have that little bit of a yap in voice.
But like we have a mod chat voice room and we have a witness chat voice room. I don't think either of them would have ever been used. Maybe the witness one early on, but I think it's important to have those available because some things are just really hard to explain or articulate over text, especially with the whale tokens coming on. We're going to be onboarding tons more people to BitShares, especially now that the free sign up has been enabled, because people won't have to go through that process in order to register for Whaleshares. So I think that we are going to see a lot more people coming in here. Like, I got these whale tokens and I don't know how to use them. And sometimes a screenshot is not sufficient to onboard somebody onto BitShares. I think that a week would be pretty realistic at this point. I'm not really sure. I'm not actually helping with manual registration right now. But that would be my guess. I would say 5 to 7 days would be a realistic expectation. I know that on the platform it actually says a couple days, but I'm not positive because we just started it. So.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the recording for this week, and we can still continue to chat afterwards. But I just wanted to give an official sign off to let everyone know that I'm going to end the recording for the night.